Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello and welcome to this video. We are doing episode 2 season 1 part 4 of Rabbits, titled Concernicus Jones. So far it's been pretty good. Just got back from vacation, so my thoughts aren't completely focused on this. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and jump on in and get going.
The story of the passenger pigeon is horrifying and fascinating. Turns out the reason they went extinct so quickly is the fact that they were easy prey, extremely easy for humans to slaughter in enormous numbers. One technique used was to tie one end of some string to the foot of a captured pigeon and the other end to the leg of a stool. When the terrified pigeon tried to fly away, its fluttering wings indicated to the rest of the flock that it had found food. The flock, which arrived in unimaginably high numbers, was incredibly easy to kill. This is where we get the term stool pigeon, which means somebody who betrays another.
Which is interesting. That is, I've heard different variants of this from where we get the term stool pigeon, but they all involve basically using a pigeon of a certain type or a dove or something like that as bait. One of these days I may sit down and figure out if this is like the definitive story or the definitive one, or if it's just a bunch of coincidental stories just kind of lumped together.
Who was it that Yumiko had been looking for? And what was it with her interest in passenger pigeons? As long as I'd known her, she'd shown no interest in anthropology, outside of its relation to popular or video game culture. I needed to ask Jones a few questions about the documents he'd sent, so I called the number I'd used to reach him earlier. There was no answer, and no voicemail option.
Excuse me.
I went through the escort reviews and tried to find Yumiko. It didn't take me long. There was one post on the forum by an escort calling herself Lysandra. I believed that username was most likely a nod to Afra Ben, one of Yumiko's literary heroes. At the bottom of the post was a broken link to a site called lysandraloves.net. The dimensions of the previous photos in the broken links matched the dimensions of those previous photos exactly.
So, Miss Parker is digging up more things and more things slowly.
lysandraloves.net led to a site identical to the site I found when I did that reverse image search earlier, the site with the broken photo links. It didn't take me long to find the escort review forum from Jones's PDF online. I couldn't find anything other than the page Jones had sent, only the one post from Lysandra. I signed up on the forum and tried sending messages to a couple of the users who had replied to Lysandra's post. I didn't get any responses, which isn't surprising, I suppose. The world of escorts is probably not a world concerned with user transparency. I wasn't going to get anywhere going directly after the Johns.
And there you go. One of the reasons that this whole thing starts out as hard as it does.
So I took a different approach. One of the two users who had replied to her post had never posted in the forum before, but the other was a regular. He posted a lot, commenting on all kinds of other escorts, and he left reviews. I noticed a bunch of great reviews for a girl named Melissa, with a Y, and one terrible review for a girl named Amy X. I figured I'd have better luck with Amy X. Hello, Amy?
Who is this?
My name is Carly Parker. I'm producing a podcast.
What's that?
It's kind of radio on demand.
Like on the internet?
Yeah, pretty much exactly like that.
That's cool. So you're looking for a date?
Not exactly. I explained what I wanted from Amy, how I wanted her to forward a client's number. She told me to... Well, you can imagine what she told me.
Nothing
Until
nice.
she found out who it was.
That fucker.
You recognize the name?
He left me bad reviews all over the internet because I wouldn't give him a Welshman's tiara.
What's a Welshman's tiara?
You don't want to
It's
know.
when you take his...
Oh.
Yeah.
And I would advise against looking that up on Google.
Do you have a pen?
She gave me his number. I sent him a message from an email account I created called Lysandra Loves and included a photo of Yumiko. I asked to meet for a date. I got a response within an hour. Hi. Gary?
Hi.
Hi. I'm Carly. Clearly not the girl from the pictures.
Hey, that's okay.
Well, I wasn't exactly honest on the phone.
You're a cop.
No, not at all. I'm a journalist.
Are you recording this?
I won't use your real name.
So, you're like undercover experiencing the escort thing?
No, not exactly.
Okay.
I'm looking for my missing friend.
The Japanese girl?
Yeah,
Are we still gonna have sex?
I'm afraid not.
What is it with that girl and now you with her picture?
I...
Doesn't anybody want to have sex anymore?
Wait,
A standard male thing, an unmature male, I should say, just all full of himself.
so you didn't have sex with Yumiko? With Lysandra? You and she didn't...
No. She asked me some weird question, and I guess she didn't get the answer she wanted, so she split. Give me a kiss on the cheek, if you believe it.
What did she ask you?
She asked me how many steps to the lighthouse.
What?
Are you sure about the no sex thing?
Yeah, pretty sure. Sorry.
Put a pin in the whole lighthouse
I asked him if she
thing.
said anything else, if there was anything else he could remember. He told me that she wore a nice black dress, asked him the question, spent a bit of time texting or emailing on her phone, and then split. Yumiko's phone wasn't in her apartment, and the police said that Yumiko's cell phone company have been unable to find anything connected to her account. I didn't have any hacker friends, so I called the next best thing. The person who had somehow installed the cat chat application onto my laptop. Just like before, there was no answer and no voicemail. 5 minutes later, I received a call from an unknown caller. I started recording as soon as I could. Why didn't you answer when I called earlier?
That phone is no longer in use.
Is there a number I can reach you at if I have additional questions?
What's this for exactly?
What do you mean?
Well, I understand you're looking for your friend, but why record it?
It's kind of my job.
You're a journalist.
Yes, but it's not just that.
No?
No. It's also a way of collecting and organizing my thoughts, using different parts of my brain and inviting my listeners to help me, to take part in the investigation.
And that is kind of cool because if you go to the notes section and a couple of the other places on the Rabbits Podcast homepage, there is stuff from the fans that have written in or made comment in character or what have you. It's kind of cool.
That makes sense, I suppose.
It's also, well, my former boss recommended my investigation take place in a public forum as a kind of insurance policy.
You're hoping they won't come after you because they don't want to risk exposure?
They? You make it sound like there's some kind of sinister organization out there that might come after me. Jones.
What do you know about rabbits?
Well, I don't know much, but from what I've been able to dig up, its precursor is old, like been around forever old. But the modern game began around 1959, what the modern players, or participants, call 1. When the next iteration began, they called it 2. Every version since has simply gone by a number.
Okay.
The version of the game currently taking place, if you believe this is actually a real thing, is 9. At some point, right around 1959, people began calling this modern version of the thing previously known only as the game by another name. Rabbits.
Yes, although to avoid confusion, it's all the same game.
Rabbits.
Yes. Between World War II and 1959, there is no evidence that any games were played, but that doesn't mean they didn't happen. In fact, they almost certainly did, but we don't have any proof. People started numbering the games in 1959, and that's also when the term rabbits was born.
Why rabbits?
A stamp often appeared in some of the clues. A graphic of a rabbit. It kind of looked like a John Tenniel illustration. It first appeared with a list of rules on the wall of a laundromat in Seattle at the beginning of 1. And also, there's the term rabbit hole.
Right.
And this is where we start to get some of our Alice in Wonderland references, and they fairly run parallel, some of the situations and stuff, and it is kind of a underground game played with, kind of Alice in Wonderland things, but you'll start to see it as we get deeper into the season.
Do you believe this stuff? That rabbits is real?
I'm getting there.
Anything else about the game?
You can never reveal contact with the game masters or puppet masters, what some people call the wardens. The game can start anywhere, anytime, and they say it sometimes starts years before anyone even knows that it's running. Also, a doctor named Abigail Prescott, connected to some well-known game theorists and theoretical physicists, recorded some kind of rambling yet extremely interesting information dump / manifesto about rabbits that somehow remains almost impossible to find online or anywhere else.
That thing they call the Prescott Competition Manifesto? The recording that's been passed around darknet bulletin boards and broadcast on pop-up pirate radio stations is incomplete.
Okay.
It sliced together bits and sound bites from Abigail Prescott's original series of quantum game theory symposium speeches.
Does anybody have a copy of the original speeches?
No.
So, no idea what's missing from the manifesto?
Nobody knows for sure.
Why don't I believe you?
Is that everything you know about the game?
And this is kind of where she gets forced to kind of trust Mr. Jones.
Well, okay. There are rumors that the game was originally designed to recruit secret agents by the CIA or British intelligence, that you can win millions of dollars, that the game is dangerous, that people come to real-world harm, and that the mysterious figures known only as the Wardens appear as some kind of in-game security agents, for lack of a better term.
Anything else?
Well, there's something called the Circle, a kind of Rabbit's Hall of Fame, listing the winners of the last 8 games.
7.
I thought this new version was 9.
It is.
What happened with 8?
There is no winner of 8.
Why not?
It's complicated.
I have time.
Maybe later.
For sure, later.
And you're pursuing this avenue of investigation because you...
See, this is... I kind of get the feeling here this is Jones kind of feeling out Carly, trying to figure out where she's at, whether or not he can trust her. They're working through building trust. It's kind of well written.
I believe your friend, Yumiko, was playing rabbits.
All I know is that she was obsessed with death and video games. She was weirdly hypnotized by some online video, and shortly after that, she disappeared. Everything I've been digging up seems to lead to this game, and then you sent me that photo.
And now you're thinking it might be something else.
Maybe. I don't know. If she really was an escort.
Did you get a chance to look at the documents I sent you?
I didn't tell Jones about the information I'd received from Gary, about Yumiko asking how many steps to the lighthouse. I had a feeling that Jones was on the level, but at this point, I wasn't ready to start trusting cryptic strangers, especially cryptic strangers who'd hacked into my computer. I glanced over the escort reviews.
And?
Nothing yet.
And the other one?
The research paper?
It's not a research paper. It's a speech. Look closer.
Is there anything specific I should be looking for?
You really should take another look.
Why not just tell me?
It doesn't work like that.
Okay, but if I have questions, can I...
And they kind of play this kind of game through of him telling her to read something. Then eventually, I believe in this season, that they get to a point where he's actually telling her stuff. But for the first probably 3, 4, 5 episodes, they play this, you need to read this on your own game.
Get in touch with you?
What did you find at the museum?
How did you know I went to the museum?
If we're going to be working together, the information has to flow both ways.
Are we going to be working together?
That depends.
On what?
On whether or not you tell me what your friend was doing at the museum. I won't contact you again.
She was looking at the birds.
The birds?
Passenger pigeons. Or, well, pigeon, singular.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Testing out the honesty here.
So, Jones and I were going to be working together. He seemed to know I'd found something at the museum. I wondered if he knew I'd been lying about finding anything in the escort reviews as well. Part of me wanted to call him back and come clean, but I still wasn't sure I could trust him. How can I trust somebody I'm not even sure I can get in touch with? The problem is, I have so many questions, and so far, Jones was the only person I could speak with who might have at least some of the answers.
She doesn't, at this point, realize exactly what she's getting into. It's kind of interesting that with the self-reflection.
Still couldn't believe Yumiko was leading a whole other life. We'd always told each other everything. How could she be playing rabbits and working undercover as some kind of escort without me knowing? It just didn't fit with the Yumiko I knew, or thought I knew. Later that night, I was sitting cross-legged on my bed, just about to turn on my iPad and dig into the document Jones had sent, the document he referred to as a speech of some kind, when I heard the familiar startup chime of my laptop. I thought that was weird, and it completely freaked me out. I was alone in my apartment, and with everything that's been happening, well, I haven't been sleeping much. I was on edge. I unplugged my solid brass table lamp, held it as a weapon, and slowly moved over to my desk to shut down my computer. But it wasn't on. Now I was even more freaked out. I looked around that part of my room. I couldn't find anything capable of making a similar sound, and I knew that sound. We all know that sound. It's very specific.
Very Windows.
My heart was pounding, my hands shaking. I finally found the source of that sound in the bottom drawer of my desk. It was Yumiko's computer. It was humming. I opened it up and saw the familiar startup screen. Yumiko's smiling face in her icon. The cursor was flashing, waiting for her password. I set the computer down on my bed and moved through my entire apartment, turning lights on and off, brass lamp held high above my head, ready to swing at the first thing that moved. But I was alone. Convinced my apartment was secure, I sat back down on my bed, typed the word rabbits into the password field, and pressed enter. It's Rabbits. I'm Carly Parker. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. Until next time, stay safe.
So there you have it. Episode 2 of Season 1, Concernicus Jones from the Rabbits Podcast. Now we're starting to get a little bit more into the meats and potatoes of the mystery, everything that's going on. The next episode is going to be Marigold and Persephone, Persephone. My dyslexic brain does not want to pronounce that right now, so we'll be starting that here probably for sometime during the first week of July. And I'm going to try to keep these to a probably 7 to 10 day upload. Sometimes I might slide one in at about 5 days, but I still got one more vacation to go on, or vacation trip, and that's going to probably delay the next installment for a while. Probably be sometime in the first week and a half of July. So until next time, everybody, peace.